I'm going to close the door and we'll start. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Ready.
When you want.
Okay, good afternoon. Okay, now is the next lecture. It's about sustainability and space, two keywords. Okay, that's the title. The title of the lecture is Towards Sustainable Space Activities. Today, it's Andrea with us. Thank you for coming. He's really an expert, okay? He's 24 years in the European Space Agency, guaranteed that he's the right one to talk about that, okay? His experience is related to business development, strategic analysis, planning, and marketing. Really, he was graduated in electronic engineering, master in telecommunication system. Before starting the European Space Agency, if I'm right, you work in today's Leonardo, but
Exactly.
previously it was Alien Espacio. Few comments regarding your career in the European Space Agency is basically he started being in the strategic directorate. 6 years later, he was appointed at the corporate strategic planning office. Later on, almost 10 years later, head of corporate development office, and since 2021, his current position as Chief Climate and Sustainability Office, in order to ensure that the European Space Agency and its program contribute to the Paris Agreement. Okay, so Andrea, once again, thank you very much for staying with us, and we're going to learn a lot of, we are completely sure. Thank you.
Thank you. And apologies for having heard my CV twice today, but okay, this is happening. So I'm very happy to be here. Buenas tardes. I have practiced a lot of Spanish today, but I cannot speak Spanish and I cannot have a lecture in Spanish, of course. So what are the topics that we are going to talk about this afternoon? Basically, three aspects I would like to touch upon. The first one is about the European Space Agency. What beast is the European Space Agency? Not everybody is aware of that. The second part is about space and sustainability, so the very title of the keynote speech. And the third area is expressly dedicated to the young people that are here in this forum, because it is about how to attract talents and what are the opportunities that are given to talents in Europe and specifically at the European Space Agency. So what ESA is about? First of all, ESA can be defined in many, many ways. Basically, it is the gateway to space in Europe. If you want to access to space, we go through ESA. It was founded, next year will be 60 years ago. 50 years ago, but the previous organization was in place since 64, so this is my mistake. So today we have 22 member states. 3 of our member states are not part of the European Union, UK, Norway, and Switzerland. And on the other side, we have few countries that are not yet part of ESA, few countries that are part of the European Union that are not yet members of the agency, but they are associated members. So Latvia, Slovenia. Actually, Slovenia is becoming the 23rd member state of the agency before the end of the year. This is something that I can disclose today. So with all the other EU countries, we are working hand in hand, and of course we work with the entire world. All the spacefaring nations are working with the European Space Agency. We have about 6,000 people working at ESA in different positions, and I will come back to that later on. Why we need a European Space Agency? So the very idea of having a European Space Agency is joining forces and foster cooperation in space. 50 years ago, or 60 years ago, there were not a single country in Europe capable mastering technologies so to have objects in space. So we decided to join forces to work on launch system and on satellites. Where ESA is based? We have headquarters in Paris, France, but we are based all over Europe, basically. We are going to see that. What is the budget of the agency? 7 billion euros per year, which may seem a lot. I invite you to Google what is the budget of NASA, and you will see that it is more or less 6 or 7 times per year the budget of the European Space Agency. And then if we divide that budget per number of persons that are living in Europe and paying taxes in Europe, and considering that our budget is coming from taxpayer money, it is about 16 euros per year for each European citizen. I don't know how to quantify it, but it is a cinema ticket or a couple of cinema tickets, depending on countries. So where we are based? Headquarters in France. We have a very nice establishment very near to Madrid, and I know that the director of this establishment has been here yesterday having a keynote speech. It is in ESA, near to Villafranca del Castillo, so very, very close to here. We have establishment in Italy, in Esrin, near to Rome, in UK, near to Oxford, EXAT, in Germany, ESOC, and EAC, which is the European Astronaut Centers. So we have all the facilities there for training our astronauts. We have a crew of astronauts that is 11 permanent person plus 17 reserve. So it's a big crew, and all those guys are, of course, aiming at flying once in space. I have heard this morning the presentation about aviation. It's the dream of everybody flying since the beginning of the human era. But the dream of dreams is to fly into space. So this is the ultimate frontier. Each of those sites has a specialization. So we have a site for telecommunication, a site for Earth observation, a site for science, which is actually the one that is here near to Madrid. But then there is the big site, the biggest site that is in the Netherlands. It is called HESTEC. It's the European Center for Space Technology. And all the satellites that we are producing are tested and verified there before launch. So this is the European Space Agency, where we are acting. There are all the domains of space. It is the very unique space agency that is working in all the space domains, starting from the access to space, so launch system, to technology, Earth observation, taking the pulse of our planet and climate. So we have a lot of expertise and we produce a lot of satellites to understand better our planet. We work on telecommunication and navigation that are basically dual-use systems. And we have programs that are helping world-class STEM, inspiring millions of European young talents. And we are going to come back to that later on. So this is really, in a nutshell, what the European Space Agency is. Now, what is the relevance of space, and what is the approach of the European Space Agency, in particular, towards sustainability? I'm sorry if I am going to repeat few things that have been said in the panel this morning, but we have a three-level approach, or what we call an holistic approach to sustainability. And we start from the bottom. So our planet, our biosphere. We want that our systems that are basically produced on Earth are minimizes their impact on the environment. So we are going to do whatever we can to reduce the impact on climate change, on biodiversity, using less resources in the design and development of our systems. Then there is, beyond the biosphere of Earth, we have the Earth orbit, which is, again, a very precious resource. It's something that is allowing us to use daily the space applications that are based on space infrastructure that are orbiting the Earth. We know that there are many satellites, active satellites up there, but we know maybe less than there are many space debris. We are talking about millions and millions of objects of a very, very little dimension that are going more or less uncontrolled and untracked up there. So we need to track them, we need to avoid them on our operational system, because we want those systems keep working for the benefit of the mankind. Last but not least layer is the deep space and the moon, or the exploration. We were discussing this morning what are the key pillars for having an exploration that is sustainable. So circularity, resources, waste management, avoid contamination of other celestial bodies. So these are the key questions to ensure that our exploration is sustainable in the future. And all those elements are dealt with the action of the European Space Agency. So we have an holistic approach that is summarized in the key objectives of the ESA Agenda 2025, which is the agenda that is bringing us to next year, which is a key year for a decision at ESA, because we have a council at ministerial level towards the end of next year. And we have four main objectives that are linked to sustainability. The first one is inverting the European contribution to space debris. So we have adopted a net zero space debris policy. We are going to have our satellite, our spacecraft, designed to have zero debris, the probability to have zero debris reduced to zero by 2030. And this is a very important step forward, because if you want to deal with space debris and orbital crowding, we have to start from that, avoiding to inject other debris. Then the second point is, and we were talking about that also this morning, in space servicing, so circular economy. What we can reuse in space must be reused in using materials, in using components, in using platforms. So in-orbit servicing is something that is going a second life to spacecraft that are in a specific orbit, that have exhausted their fuel. And this is really something that we look after, not only in view of the exploration I was talking about before, but also in view of managing the fleet of satellites that is up there, and it is creating a big crowd. We have also to work on Earth to reduce the environmental impact of our system, and we have taken a pledge of reducing GHG emission by 46% by 2030. And then, last but not least, our programs must always serve an objective for sustainable development. We do it through the ESA Green Agenda, and as I said, the ESA Space Debris Mitigation Requirements Standard, and internationally with a Charter for Zero Debris and a Statement for a Responsible Space Sector. But space is very important for the society. I make 3 examples just to summarize how space can help supporting the management of scarce resources. So if we take apart mobility, we can say that through space we can increase the production of food on Earth, especially taking into account climate change that is changing the conditions under which crops can be grown. So thanks to the support of Earth observation, artificial intelligence and learning, and machine learning, we can help farmers to better grow crops. The other resource is water, which is very much linked to food. And also in this case, thanks to satellite positioning, Earth observation and meteorology satellites, we can have a clear map of the water evolution in certain communities. So to help decision makers in making the good choices, either for industrial plants or for agriculture. And the last but not least is about energy. Energy also can be helped by space because not all the areas of the world are covered or are connected to the energy grid. And sometimes this connection is not necessary because the community is so limited in growth that can benefit of off-grid energy. We give a lot of money to our companies, to our suppliers, to our startups to develop these kind of services that are very important to mitigate and adapt to climate change. So not only space can provide valuable information to understand climate change, but also can provide valuable data to provide services and overcome the difficulties and the risks of climate change. Very quickly here, it's a bit technical. Life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessment is a technique to understand how the life of a certain product is impacting the environment, from the conception of that product to the end of its life. And if we take a space system, which has different phases, design, production, launch, use, and disposal, and we focus only on 3 indicators, global warming, mineral resource depletion, and ozone layer depletion, we can see where we can act to reduce the environmental impact of space system. So the first area is the use of rare earths for the production phase, as well as the test of satellites that is requiring a lot of energy and therefore is impacting to the global warming potential. The propellant production, it is another area where our launchers are using a lot of energy. We use hydrogen for propellant, and we have to create this hydrogen in a liquid form. And this is requiring a huge amount of energy, and this is a very big bubble. So there is a lot of margin for improvement. Last but not least, the use of data centers. Also, those guys are very much energy consumer. So we have to work in this direction. 2 steps, life cycle assessment, so understand where we can do better. Eco-design, thinking in a different way. Thinking and designing a product, an equipment, a system in a different way to have less impact on the environment and prepare for reuse and recycle eventually. Now, let me touch this very last point. I am out of time. So the value of new talents. Here, few numbers. So it has been estimated that the benefits for Europe from its space activities is around 53 billion per year. This is an estimation of the European Space Policy Institute. Space is creating jobs and opportunities of growth over Europe. ESA has a specific set of jobs that can be attractive for young talents. And not only in engineering, so you know that there are a lot of engineering disciplines that are dealt with in ESA, but also on scientific disciplines. So we have scientists in-house. We build a satellite, but we design the mission. So we design the scope, the reason why this satellite is sent into orbit. And then we have many transversal services, what we call business services. We need a specialist in law, in finance, in IT, communication, public relations. So it's really a world of opportunity in ESA, but also in whatever space-related organization. Space is not only for engineers. It's mostly for engineers and scientists, but not only for them. And then last but not least, what is the set of opportunities that you have as a young talents? So there are internship programs. If you have not yet concluded your high school, you can already apply for internship. Maybe you are towards the end of your studies, so you need a couple of months, your school is requiring that. There is a student internship program for high school, but also for college people in the first year. Then young graduate trainee program. So once you have got your graduation, you can apply for this program. We offer a lot of opportunity, again, in all the areas that ESA is requiring. It is a 1 or 2 year contract that is allowing you to understand better how ESA is working and interfacing with industry, so entering the space work. Then there is a scheme that is called the National Trainee Program. So each country has his own. Spain has his own national trainee program. I don't know how many of trainees are funded by Spain, but I'm pretty sure that there are many. We have a research fellowship program for postdocs. Also in this case, there are regularly published opportunities on the ESA website. And then there are ESA co-funded research. So the university can partner with ESA for co-funding a specific research. And finally, we have a junior professional program, meaning that after a first approach to ESA as an intern, as a YGT, a young graduate trainee, we may offer the opportunity to grow again in the organization through this opportunity that is a junior professional program. So I don't want to take much more of your time, just to recall that we have a full program of education. For education that is basically in 2 areas. One is for people under 18, so for schools. And the second one is the ESA Academy for over 18 people, which are already studying at the university. But the two are very much going hand in hand. We provide training for students, but we provide training also for teachers, so they can become specialists in STEM and space-related activities. So very happy to have given you a bit of space debriefing today. Here there is a QR code for ESA Space Sustainability and a couple of web address for your future career at ESA. So thank you very much, muchas gracias. And if you have questions, I will be very happy to respond.
Hi, can you hear me? Loud and clear. Thank you very much, Andrea, for your presentation. I would like to ask you, I think, a simple question. Have you seen during your years the emergence of new fields for potential engineering fields, apart from the common one, such as electrical, telecommunications, etc.? Because with the emergence of artificial intelligence, I've seen like prompt engineer and new fields like being developed. What's your opinion on this? And have you seen this happen?
Well, this is a very interesting question, and in the very moment you ask this question, the progress on artificial intelligence is going already progressing, because it's a field which is going so fast that we cannot even imagine that. At the agency, we have set up a number of activities. So the answer is yes, I'm seeing something coming, but there is not yet something specific on it. So we are really pulling competences in the agency to understand which are the directions for which we have to study and use the artificial intelligence. This is already done. I was showing you a few examples, but this is a rather industry or companies or startups that are coming with ideas for use artificial intelligence. But there is a huge potential for space system, so I think that you must stay tuned with ESA, and you may find opportunities also in this area. Besides, I would say that very linked with my job, there is the opportunity for what we call sustainability engineers. So those engineers that are not only oriented to the performance of the product that they are designing, but they have also the mindset to design it in a way that is sustainable. And this is something that we are progressively introducing in the agency.
Okay, so Andrea, thank you very much for being here. Okay.
Thank you.
From preview, there's one key message. This is not only for engineers, there is space for many others.
Absolutely.
Okay. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to learn a little bit more regarding the ESA and how relevant from the very beginning this zero debris policy from the scratch until the satellite is out of there. Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank all of you. Right.